a topic that I feel doesn't get the credit that it's due, and that is networking. So oftentimes people ask me as a founder, like, where should I go networking? What should I do to network? What should my business cards look like? And I always believe in the principle that networking is so much more than just going into rooms and conferences full of people who are in your industry. And it's more about building relationships and connections with people. Almost every beautiful opportunity that I've had in my life has come from an actual connection with another person who's turned out to be an incredible human being, who wanted me to maybe meet another incredible human being or have another incredible experience. And knowing that as a principle, I think it's really important that when you're networking, I say this with air quotes, that you instead focus on human connection and the value that's there. Not so much the collection of cards of important people. Sure, that's important. But also getting to know the perspective of the person on the other side of that in a way where they can know who you are too and let their guard down and really build something real. And I've had the best relationships, the best experiences from that. So I always feel like that's the best place to kind of start. Not so much me, can I have something? Let me have your card. I'll hold it for when I need you and then remind you I met you that one time at that convention. But instead, like, sort of how are you? Mm-hmm. Where are you from? What brought you into this work? Like, this drink is terrible. Like, who's this mixologist? They need to never come back. But having those real moments with people, I think, is the key. I don't think it's about just going into a convention. So I'll pause there.
Okay.
But I have a lot of thoughts around networking.
Well, so because networking, the conversations networking can definitely go in a lot of different ways, but I want to make it personal, right? So my question for you is, what are some of the deeper connections that you've made when networking, and how did y'all end up meeting? And did you see that, when you first kind of walked into the event, like, oh, I know this event's gonna be a great one,
right?
How did you approach that?
Okay, so this is a layered question.
Yes,
because I'm pretty introverted, honestly. If I didn't have to leave the comfort of my house, I might not leave. But you're never gonna meet people if you don't go outside.
Ooh. That's deep.
That's deep. People are outside. Write that down. But you're never gonna meet people if you don't venture out of your bubble, your comfort zone. But for me, sometimes it would take a little extra courage, and I wouldn't always know or feel energized enough to go out and do it. I have so many real things that I could say and lean into. Okay, so I'll just start. One of the things I knew about myself is that when I go out to network, I don't particularly always feel so jazzed and energized about it. So one of the things I have to do is just sort of commit to being a little caffeinated before I go. I'm for real.
Shout out to coffee.
Shout out to coffee, right? Or an espresso shot, or a pre-workout chewable or something like that before you go. Because for me, sometimes when I get there, I've already had a long day. And I'm ready to take a nap. So that's the first.
Networking events are never at 9 a.m.
No, they never are. There's after I've had a long day, and I want to go to bed. So anyway, I had to know within myself that that was a really important thing for me to do, is make sure I feel energized and awake enough to meet people with a good, bubbly, happy personality. So That's a pro tip, a hack there. But when I've been in positions where I've met people where my life has changed, I showed up with optimism. And one of the examples that I have so many, but I met a fantastic soul of a person who was my makeup artist on a photo shoot when I was Miss Black DC.
Yeah.
And eventually she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And she was the one who I supported at a walk where I ended up actually meeting my current business partner, Dr. Regina Hampton. And I showed up with optimism to that photo shoot, open to trying a new makeup artist, open to meeting another person, open to building a connection with that person in the makeup chair.
Right.
And then that became a fruitful relationship that sparked the flame for this business that's now impacted the lives of over 20,000 people.
You never know.
You never know.
Right.
So you want to go into every opportunity positively, and with a very open mind about what that connection can be. And not just, again, for taking, but what can I give to the other person? And how can I build a relationship that will last with them?
Right.
So start with caffeine. Move into optimism, because no one wants to meet a new person who's like a Debbie Downer, right? You want to meet a new person who has a spirit that you want more of.
Yeah.
So that's the next part. I would also say it's important to ask questions of the other person, because people like to talk about themselves.
That is very true.
Yeah, I mean, there's a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and that's really one of the core messages. It's like, get to know the other person.
Yeah.
Surprise.
John Maxwell? That's John
Yeah,
Maxwell?
yes,
Yep.
or Dale Carnegie, one of
Dale
them.
Carnegie.
One of the greats, but it's important. But it's important to get to know the other person on a real level.
Yeah.
and be happy and be a person that they would want to be around, and remember the details about them. Even sometimes if you have to make a note for yourself, you might not have the best memory, but making a note of their child's name, or where you met them on the back of the business card, or in the notes portion of your phone. And I think that goes a long way. Another great story I have about that is I met a person, and they told me what their favorite cake was, just randomly.
Wow.
And then when I hosted them, I made sure that their favorite cake was there.
Whoa.
And it's just one of those small things.
Yeah.
I mean, you could pick up any kind of cake, but if you remember their favorite cake, it means something special to them.
Right.
It's those small details. So I think that's very important, like to be a good listener. Probably a better listener than speaker. When you are out, quote unquote, networking, which is really just building relationships outside of your house.
Right. Because they're outside?
They're outside. They're not in your house, sadly.
Right.
Yeah.
And then lastly, as it relates to networking, how big do you build it? Like, what's the greatness that comes from networking? Like, what does it look like for some people that you know, and for you?
Having a strong network around you means that you can call on the people that you need, and they can call on you. And the limit does not exist when that's a possibility. And so many of the best experiences I've ever had in my life have come through people who knew people who wanted me to be in a room, or people who thought of me during an important moment. And then I reciprocate and I do the same for them. And that's what it's about. We can't do life alone, right? We have to do it with people who have our shared dreams and goals to some extent. And it's important as we're founders, as we're startup builders, as we're CEOs, as we're growing in our careers, that we have a circle that we can trust. And it's never too late to find that circle and to build those relationships. It's never too late.
And then last question is, who is someone you'd like to meet and why? Alive.
A person whom I love to meet. You know, I think that I probably would have said Deborah Lee a month ago, but I met her
Ooh,
and
bucket
had
list
dinner with
checked.
her. Yeah, so that bucket list item was checked for sure. She's just such a dynamic person, and she's built an incredible career. And she is a woman who's been through things that women have gone through, that we all have, and she's very open about her life and her story. So yeah, up until about a month ago, I probably would have said Deborah Lee was on top of my list. And now I just finished the Leading Women Define Rising Leaders program with her out in Los Angeles. And that was such a blessing in my life. And the other women that she's introduced me to have been a huge blessing too. So I guess in a way that was networking through just building that relationship with her. But there are women who are inspirational at every level. And I think when we keep an open mind, we can find them.
Okay. And this is the last one because it came up as you were talking. I mean, as a joke, people say, what is it, $1 million or dinner with Jay-Z?
Yeah.
But why is that even a conversation? Like, why would dinner with a influential or a billionaire or somebody even be in a question against actual cold hard cash?
Yeah. So it's important to remember that people are people. And billionaires are also people. They have life experience that could perhaps leverage you into a situation or could save you money or save you time. But so that's why those conversations are important. But I think it's also important to know that we're all on different journeys. And while we can take bits and pieces from the journey of another person, we still have to live this life on our own. So having the motivation and encouragement or perspective of a person who is highly successful, especially in the arena that you're in, sure, it could change your life and your destiny, but so could $1 million. And understanding their perspective maybe through some of the books that they've read, right? Where you have a guide of their principles. So I would maybe say, instead of taking the $1 million versus a dinner with someone, to take the $1 million and then Google their must-read list, right? Like, Google their favorite books, look up their mentors, watch their interviews online for free.
Right.
And treat yourself and your partner to an incredible dinner together. But yeah, I would definitely say those perspectives are important, but it's not the end all.